Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Faster Mai, good evening. It's a bank holiday weekend. 5:30 update for Friday, 25th of August, 2023 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes to look at the latest news on the Isle of Man. Background to that news with sport, business and Sea-Watch and travel updates. The newsmakers in person this evening. 90% of GCSE candidates will continue in full-time education. 20 miles an hour in Douglas now, says an MHK. Local authorities against the DOI's large vehicle parking plans. Businesses concerned over low trade during MGP. And the Ravens face 2 games in 3 days off the Isle of Man.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the update news headlines. Faster Mai, Siobhan Fletcher.
Faster Mai. MGP race organisers have confirmed a revised schedule for tomorrow after rain disrupted proceedings during today's final qualifying session. Roads around the TT Mountain course will close at 11 a.m. and will reopen no later than 9 p.m. You can find all the details at manxradio.com. A Douglas man who told a nurse on the Isle of Man she looked like serial baby killer Lucy Letby has been ordered to work with the probation service. Jason Brown of Empress Drive also began chanting about other killers during his attendance at A&E. A mother who's been campaigning for nearly a decade to have full parental rights for same-sex couples is welcoming a planned overhaul of Manx laws. Sue Harper has 2 children with her partner Sarah, but due to existing laws, only Sue's name is listed on their birth certificates. Further afield, the director of the British Museums quit with immediate effect after treasures worth millions of pounds were stolen. Hartwigs Fincher says the organisation didn't respond as comprehensively as it should have to warnings in 2021. The Chief Executive of NHS England is calling for an urgent meeting next week to see if formal powers under a new regulator could be given to fire managers for serious misconduct. It follows concerns about how killer nurse Lucy Letby were not addressed for months by bosses at the hospital where she worked. And the president of Spanish Football Federation's calling demands for him to quit a witch hunt by false feminists. Luis Rubiales kissed player Jenny Hermosa on the lips after the World Cup final against England. They're your headlines. News at 6.
Man Benham. Contact us by phone, video call, email or face-to-face. We're happy to connect with you. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Jeremiah, thank you. Siobhan from the Ronaldsway Met Office. There is a strong wind warning for later in the North Irish Sea. State of sea slight or moderate. And this evening, bright intervals and showers on a moderate northwesterly. Showers through the night on that wind as it picks up to become fresh. Overnight minimums 11 degrees. And for Jasan, sunny spells and isolated showers on a light to moderate northwesterly. Daylight maximum is 18 tomorrow, down to 13 through the night. Into Jaduni, dry on Sunday, then sporadic rain and drizzle as the day goes on, and 17 degrees top temperature. High water in a little over 3/4 of an hour's time, at 14 minutes past 6. Sunset 8:27 tonight, low tide 3 minutes to 1 a.m, sunrise 6:15 tomorrow morning, high water is 9 minutes past 7, and the Manxman didn't leave Heysham until 5 to 4. She won't be into Douglas until just gone 7:30.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
Around 90% of the almost 1,000 pupils that collected GCSE results yesterday are expected to continue in full-time education. Christian Jones has been looking through the figures.
By comparison, that's 7.4% higher than last year's figure and beats pre-pandemic levels, which stood at 86.3%. Meanwhile, although we don't have concrete figures yet over this year's statistics for those who go on to be employed, last year saw almost 12% leave school and go on to get work, 3.5% were not not employed or in education. At the time of the survey, Castle Rushen High School's head teacher Keith Winstanley is encouraging pupils to consider some sort of development path if full-time education isn't for them.
We've seen increasingly UCM being a very popular choice for some students post-16, and with the Isle of Man economy being the way it is, there are still work opportunities. I would always advise students to think about future training and apprenticeships and those sorts of things rather than just going into the world of work without any kind of future pathway, some sort of developmental and learning factor to it, because I think that's important. I think UCM have been very good over recent years at tapping into what the labour market needs, but equally there are more academic choices available both in school and at UCM, and youngsters go for that as well, particularly if they've got an eye on a UK or further afield university place.
Businesses in the Isle of Man have taken to social media to share frustrations at the lack of trade over this Manx Grand Prix. Here's Tessa Hawley.
Vibe plant-based cafe on Ridgeway Street in Douglas sparked the conversation after sharing a photograph of their empty restaurant on Facebook. They said they'd had no bookings for last night and no walk-ins. In the post, they wrote, "A lot of people thought we were crazy for closing during the TT racing, but this is the reality for a lot of businesses on the island during these big events." Other businesses also shared their experiences on the social media thread. Truffle Struffle, a coffee, chocolate and sweet treat shop in Ramsey, responded, saying this needs talking about. They revealed that due to the location of their business, people had presumed they would be busy but weren't, adding, "I'm not sure where people are going." The Dovecot Tea Rooms in Kirkmichael said they sympathised with the situation, adding that as their cafe is on the TT mountain course, the MGP and TT doesn't benefit it in any way. They added that people thought they were mad to close during TT this year, but said with uncertainty over weather and when practice sessions would run, it's so hard to prepare for and staff. And Just Jenny's, a bakery in Castletown, revealed TT and MGP have been the quietest weeks for business, adding, "Who knows where everyone goes, but can totally understand the idea of closing down for both."
If you have a news story for Manx Radio to investigate and report, email newsroom@manxradio.com or call 682 631 any time of day or night.
After a late win in midweek, FC Isle of Man face 2 games in 3 days away from home this weekend against Longridge Town tomorrow and then Skelmersdale United on Monday. In charge again will be Ravens assistant manager Alex Harrison, who's looked at the positives from the victory in midweek on Wednesday and the challenges to come this bank holiday weekend.
But we stuck together really well, remained quite patient because the opposition were really good with the ball, so we remained patient on that aspect. And then we also had quality in the final third. We could have scored a few goals, obviously left it quite late on, but I think if we take that quality into and the chances we created, if we could take that into the 2 games, I'd be very confident in getting 2 wins. For Saturday particularly, we've played them before, so aware of how they play and how they set up, so just give the lads a few pointers on that. Don't want to concentrate too much on the opposition because I think we're good enough to beat anybody, so yeah, that's with regards to Saturday. With regards to Monday, not too sure on Skelmersdale. I haven't seen a lot of them, so that'll be a bit of an unknown game for us. So we'll just set ourselves up and maybe do a bit of research to see how they're playing. But I think they've struggled over the last few weeks, so pretty dangerous game really. They could be bringing players in, we're not too sure. So yeah, so the 2 massive games for us. I think we're going to rotate quite a bit. We've got quality across the squad, as I think I mentioned the other day when I spoke to you. So I think we've definitely got to use that to our advantage. Got to keep people fresh. So it's a long season. A lot of the lads who were involved in one game and not the other, they're getting a bit frustrated because they want to play in both. But I've spoke to them. The season's 40 odd games long. It's a long season, so we're quite lucky in that we've got a really good squad, a lot of depth. So yeah, rotations will definitely be what we're looking to do. It's a huge opportunity, really. I mean, the local season hasn't started yet, so I think a few of them have played in probably local friendlies and played in a couple of FC Isle of Man friendlies. So yeah, it's a great opportunity for them to showcase themselves and maybe pick up a starting spot over the next few games.
Douglas Central MHK says a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit should be implemented around the city now after a public public consultation showed most people to be in favour of the move. Nearly 600 people responded to the proposals, which also included improving road safety around residential areas and Ballacameen High School. And caller at MHK believes there are things that could be implemented immediately.
I do have confidence in this particular consultation response because I've been round, I've knocked doors, I've talked to people, and the results of that consultation are pretty much the exchange I got on the doorsteps. I'm hoping what will come out of this is they will implement a 20 mile an hour zone, because that's not terribly expensive. You just need signage at the entrance to the zones, maybe some repeater signing on the road. The other questions that were responded to in a yes way were, of course, drop curbs, upgrading where we're walking, and I absolutely understand that. I think it was the major thing when we knocked on doors at the last election was, the state of the streets, the state of the roads. So I think that's probably something for a bigger area, and it would be expensive. So I'm not expecting them, particularly with the state of finances at the moment, to say they're going to do that. So what I really want to get from this is a 20 mile an hour zone. This is a pilot scheme, so they could run it for 12 months. It would be better to implement the 20 and then address any problems that occur from it, rather than trying to preempt them where you don't really know where they're going to occur. I think let's get started. Let's get the signs up. Let's get the speed down, and we can work on from there.
An increase in on-island spending needs to be prioritised if the government's going to keep dipping into reserves. The view of former Chief Minister and Castletown MHK Tony Brown, who says the Isle of Man's heritage and tourist attractions need a boost.
A concern seems to be that whilst the island seems to be happy to invest substantially off-island, the Liverpool dock area, and, for example, rightly have invested in a new ship, there's lots of investments that are going on, there seems to be a reluctance to invest within the island for the island's infrastructure relating to tourism and to heritage, which are interlinked in terms of the visitors coming to the island. We look out the window here, there's a cruise ship in again, maybe 2,000 people come off that cruise ship to come into the island. We had a bigger one last week, and the island was had 3,000 people touring around, and unless our heritage sites and our places are clean and tidy and up to standard, they will go back with a poor impression. At the moment, I think that we get away with it, but there are a number of areas where there is a need for investment to improve the quality of the product we have.
Sea Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
Motor vessel Manxman departed Heysham at 5 to 4. There was an issue earlier on today, but everything seems to be okay. She'll be late into Douglas, just gone 7:30. Tonight's departure is Ben McCree at 8:15, heading to Heysham, arriving there just before midnight. The overnight departure 2:15 back to Douglas at 6 tomorrow morning. The high-speed craft Manannan is going to be leaving Douglas at 5:45, arriving in Liverpool at about 8:30, departing at 9:45, back at about midnight. Tomorrow morning's departures, 7:15 Manannan heads to Liverpool, 8:45 Manxman to Heysham.
Like the Steam Packet on Facebook for the latest sailing information.
Local authorities in the west of the Isle of Man have criticised the DOI's large vehicle and overnight and weekend parking proposals. Michael District Commissioners says it doesn't want Kirkmichael Village to become a de facto car park, and Peel Commissioners say they don't want to prevent people from coming to Peel if the proposals go ahead. Here's our local democracy reporter Emma Draper.
Another local authority has come out against the Department of Infrastructure's proposals for large vehicles. Michael District Commissioners has said it doesn't want to become a de facto place for vehicles that can't park elsewhere on the island. The department's proposal is to have local authorities choose which streets to allow vehicles to use overnight and on the weekends. In a Facebook statement, the commissioners say they weren't consulted about it, but were instead sent a letter outlining the plans. It says these are too overreaching and all-encompassing, and the proposals shouldn't be progressed without consulting all island residents. If the department decides to ignore obvious backlash, the commissioners say they would reluctantly accept inclusion in the changes. Likewise, Peel commissioners agreed at their public meeting that they don't want people to feel unwelcome in the town if they have a camper van. The local authority has agreed to write to the department for clarity on whether things like roof boxes are included in the height restrictions, amongst other things. Members also said it would affect people who use vans for work and could have to go somewhere else. The commissioners allow storage of camper vans for 6 months over winter at the campsite, but residents then move them back to their homes for the summer period. It also agreed that there would need to be more structure if the plans were to go ahead.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 5:45 in equity markets, watchers of Switzerland tanked after it emerged that Rolex was buying one of its key rivals, Bucherer, for an undisclosed amount. Ross Mould, investor director at AJ Bell, said investors seem to fear the tie-up will mean that Bucherer gets preferential treatment, including better access to the watches that consumers are desperate to buy. And for a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com.
The Stock Market Report, brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European markets closed mixed as traders reacted to comments from the Fed Reserve Chair Jerome Powell at the annual Jackson Hole Symposium. The US dollar rose, on course for its sixth straight week of gains. Oil jumped more than 1% as the dollar firmed, and gold eased after that Fed Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's keynote remarks. The numbers now from Ramsey Crookall at the close in London. The FTSE 100 up 0.07%, nearly 0.1% at 7,338. The DAX in Frankfurt was up 0.1% at 15,639. A short time ago in New York City, the Dow Jones Industrial up 0.33% at 34,215. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index down just over 0.1% at 13,448. And the S&P 500 in Chicago up 0.1% at 4,381. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling is trading at $1 25.7 cents, €1 16.5 cents, and 23 South African rand 46.7 cents. In commodities, gold's down 0.4%, currently $1,909 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude up almost 0.9% at $83.40.
You've got an investment plan?
Yeah, Mike set it up.
But don't you need loads of money to do that?
Not this one. It's called Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, and you pay in monthly as little as £100. So it's like saving regularly, really helping us invest in the future. For a house, or the kids' education.
£100 a month? I could easily do that.
You should. The sooner you start, the better.
Invest in your future with as little as £100 a month. Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, the island's investment specialist for 75 years. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Isle of Man Water Sports. Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
And here's the relevant information. If you're sailing, kayaking, windsurfing, paddleboarding, sea swimming, diving or surfing this weekend, sea temperature is 15 degrees Celsius. The wind for Saturday, north or northwesterly, force 4 or 5, increasing northwesterly 5 or 6 during tomorrow evening. Wave height 1 to 1.5 metres, building 1.5 to 2 metres tomorrow evening. Wave period 5 or 6 seconds. High tides 7:09 a.m, 7:35 p.m. And for Sunday, the wind is northwesterly, force 4 or 5, backing westerly, wave height 1 to 1.5 metres, wave period 5 to 6 seconds, high tide 8:37 a.m, 9:04 p.m.
Manx Glass and Glazing will be open as normal throughout the Manx Grand Prix. Come and see the team at Snugborough Trading Estate or call 674 573. Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300.
A Douglas man who told a nurse on the Isle of Man she looked like serial baby killer Lucy Letby has been ordered to work with the probation service. Here's Tessa Hawley.
Jason Brown of Empress Drive also began chanting about convicted cop killer Dale Cregan and rapist and murderer Wayne Cousins during his attendance at Accident and Emergency. At Douglas Courthouse, he pleaded guilty to using threatening, abusive or insulting words or behaviour at Nobles Hospital on Wednesday. The 44-year-old had been detained by police under the Mental Health Act, but he became abusive towards officers and medical staff in front of other patients. At 12:35 in the morning, Brown began swearing at a doctor who was trying to help him, telling him he was disgusting and adding, "You disgust me." The doctor refused refused to treat him due to his foul and abusive language. Brown then told a nurse who was attending to him that she must be related to jailed neonatal nurse Letby, the UK's most prolific child serial killer of modern times, and that she looked like her. The prosecutor described Brown's comments in light of Letby's recent convictions and sentencing as abhorrent and highly distasteful. He added that Brown had also begun chanting about other offenders in front of the police officers who were accompanying him. This included a chant about Dale Cregan, who murdered 2 police officers in 2012, with Brown saying, "Dale Cregan is our friend, let him out to kill some more." Brown's advocate told the court his client had thought his arrest was unjust, adding he was upset at having his liberty detained. This, he said, meant Brown had let his anger overflow. Addressing the comments directed towards the nurse, he added, "In the present circumstances, the woman would have taken offence to that." Magistrates imposed a 12-month probation order as punishment. Brown was also granted an extension to pay an outstanding fine imposed for a previous offence.
Manx Radio Sport.
Faster my, Rhian Evans.
Faster my, good afternoon. Well, race organisers of the 2023 Manx Grand Prix have now confirmed a revised schedule for tomorrow. It's after rain disrupted proceedings during today's final qualifying session. Roads around the TT Mountain Course will close at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. There will then be a warm-up lap for Manx Grand Prix competitors at 11:30. This will immediately be followed by a one-lap sidecar TT tyre test as final preparations take place for the opening Manx GP race. The Carol Nash Classic Senior race will then get underway at 12:45 over a shortened distance of 3 laps. This reduction in the race distance has been made as a result of the busy schedule and also follows consultation with teams and riders from the class. The MGP Supporters Club Junior Manx Grand Prix follows at 2:45 over the full 4-lap race distance. A Maid at the Manx Parade lap will then follow, which will see 15 riders represent 100 years of racing, and the evening's racing will conclude at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening when the rescheduled Shore lightweight race is set to be flagged away over the full 3-lap distance. In athletics, a selection of young Manx athletes will get a shot at competing at a new international competition this coming weekend. 8 under-20 competitors from the Isle of Man will travel to Cardiff to take part in the 2023 Welsh Athletics Under-20 International. The Manx squad will form part of what is known as the Island Select Team, which will be made up of 25 athletes in total from the Isle of Man, Guernsey and Jersey. Up against the Island Select side will be representatives from England under-18s and under-20s, Northern Ireland's under-20s, Scotland under-20s, Welsh under-20s and Welsh schools.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Inbound at Ronald's Way, the 5:25 Loganair from Manchester will be in just about now, some 25 minutes late. Next, the 5:30 EasyJet from Manchester came in 5 minutes late. Next, it's the 10:08 Loganair from London City on time, the 5:08 Loganair from Liverpool on time, and the Hub House States EasyJet from Gatwick is currently on time. Outbound at Ronald's Way, the 6 o'clock EasyJet to Manchester delayed till 6:30. The 6 o'clock Loganair to Liverpool delayed until 6:20, and then it's the 9 o'clock EasyJet back to London Gatwick showing on time. On the roads, East Quays closed between House of Manannan and the Road Bridge in Peel for work on the road and pavements. Hillside Avenue in Douglas closed till the middle of June next year for adjacent office window replacement. In Farm Hill, Annika Road and Cusher Road are closed in phases for resurfacing. In Pulrose, temporary lights on Springfield Road, they're working on the pavements there, and temporary lights in Onken on Harbour Road at the Fairway Junction for gas main replacement work. As you heard, roads closed tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock for the MGP to get ahead. Of course, outside of what's happening, the Mountain Road is open to two-way traffic. Cycling's prohibited until next Wednesday evening, the 30th of August. There are temporary speed limits in place around the course for the duration, as well as on the Ramsey to Laxey Coast Road, the Slock and the Shoulder Road.
H&HMotorcycles.im for all your motorcycle requirements. Southgate Industrial Estate, opposite Quayside Tyres. Call 665646. update. Brought to you by Simcox Advocates.
A mother who's been campaigning for nearly a decade to have full parental rights for same-sex couples has welcomed a planned overhaul of Manx legislation. Sue Harper has 2 children with her partner Sarah, but due to existing laws, only Sue's name is listed on the birth certificates. That could change if MLC Tanya August Hanson's private member's bill on human fertilisation, embryology and legal parentage and surrogacy arrangements is successful. Sue told Manx Radio the last 10 years have been full of broken promises from politicians.
Unfortunately, none of this has ever come through, so all the deadlines have passed and all the promises of, nothing's actually come to fruition until Tanya August Hanson put it through as a private member's bill, and Tanya has got it now to public consultation, which is the furthest that it's ever been. At the moment, I know the same-sex couples are being told by solicitors over here that they need to pay £3,000-4,000 to get parental responsibility for the second parent to have equal rights to that child, when on the reality you can do it yourself. I paid on my second child, we paid £66 and did it ourselves. So there's a lot of misinformation out there for same-sex couples about getting rights to the children that they loved and wanted and have planned for. A same-sex couple wants to have children, there's a lot of planning involved. And there's a lot of heartache, a lot of stress and a lot of financial burden as well. My own experience, we started this in 2012, started IVF. And my first child was born in 2015. Our second child was born in 2020. So between 2012 and 2020, yes, we've had 2 children. What people don't see is how much we have gone through to get those children. Lily was our 10th round of fertility treatment, and Ella's was then another 5 after that. Within those 15 rounds of treatment, we had 5 miscarriages. So and I think we probably lost count at around about £20,000 because it's all private treatment in the UK. Then to be told, actually, you've gone through all that, but no, you can't have a right to that child at all. Yeah, that doesn't really sit very well, but they're not easy journeys to have these children, and a lot of same-sex couples on the island are going through it, and that's why it is so important then to just have the last tick in the box, the same right as everybody else has, for that child to have, for the security of the child, the security of the parent, to belong in that family and have it written down on paper.
That's it for Update tonight and this week. Compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department, thanks to newsreader Siobhan Fletcher, producer Rhiann Evans. After the news at 6 o'clock, Ruth Shimon's here with the greatest hits. Sweet and Swing with Howie Kane at 9 and Mike Reynolds tonight at 10 after hours. Have a great bank holiday weekend. No update on Monday, back on Tuesday at 5:30.
WINT